Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. We're back. We're back again, and we are having another evening of a chilled conversation, chilled chats, chilled whatever it is you want to call it. Back again, and this time we're going to have a little ganders about the EFL Cup fixtures that have taken place midweek. Some few big games that went on, some one or two surprise results, perhaps, maybe shocks, upsets, whatever it is you categorize those results as. We're going to have a look into most of which, not all of them, because I think there's probably a few dead rubber games that there's not really a lot of interest, shall we say. It doesn't really carry much interest, but I am set up for the next hour or so, probably roughly about an hour or so. Don't want to keep people latched on for too long, but hope you guys are also tucked in, suited and booted, and strapped in for a nice chill conversation, a relaxing evening. I'm hoping it's relaxing, but we'll have to see what events precede themselves. But I'll tell you what, live as a United fan, EFL Cup, that's not too bad, is it? It's not too bad. We're doing okay. Big T, big ups to you, mate. Good to see you. 3 guarantees in life. Death, taxes, and United getting a home draw in the cup. Absolutely. And it carries on. Newcastle at home in the next round. It continues. Whether we can, whether our string of luck pays off for us in the matter of that we end up getting the win in that next round against Newcastle. We'll have to see, because Newcastle perhaps knocked out the favourites of the cup in Manchester City. So whether we want to call that a surprise result or not, for me, it's like maybe the least surprising of surprise results, maybe, but we'll have to see what goes on. Anyhow, 12 in a row, new British record. We're still breaking records, yes. For every bad record we break, we'll claim a good kind of record. A record that keeps the shine on our shoes, in our stride. So, yeah, it's all looking good. But we're going to delve into all the games. I say all the games again. I actually mean most of them. The important ones that perhaps have a bit of weight to them. So let's not. Actually, I say that before I go into any further depth with things as such. Just another thing. Before I sat down for dinner tonight and doing the stream, I tuned in to a stream that Jez was doing on Arsenal history and more. He had the likes of Kenny Ken, was Tea Talk, and Longhead Yeti. And they were talking about, I think it was like a review stream that was going on. And they were speaking about, or caught it at a point where it was like they were talking about mental health, right? And the implications that sometimes having presence, an online presence, can have, and it's we'll call it clapbacks or something. The weights that it carries, but also the impact that it can have. Like online interactions, generally rather constant. It's probably the most constant sort of interaction people can get, and some quite damning stories about the mental health conversation that Jez got into a little bit, and it does sort of sit in a more sort of personal experience point of view type of thing. So it's next week on Thursday, 6 p.m. Jez is going to be doing a show dedicated to that sort of conversation. So if you guys have got that time available to you, or if there's problems going on in your life from a personal standpoint, then that's absolutely a stream worth tuning into, and getting involved with, having chats about it, having conversations, invoking a conversation, whatever it may be about, even if it's something that's just like it has no interest to you, or whatever it is. Sometimes it's like when people say, just reach out and start talking to someone, because you never know that you might actually save someone's life with that. And it does in the modern day, I think, have much more relevance now than it's really ever done, especially on the basis of it being such a sort of interconnected type of society that we live in. So massively important stream, I shall say, on Arsenal, the history, and more. Jez is going to be hosting it Thursday next week, 6 p.m. If you want to tune in for that, we'll make sure that you're available for that. You won't want to miss it, especially if there are problems or difficulties or struggles that you might experience in your day-to-day lives. So, but anyways, we won't waste any more time. We'll jump straight into things. And we're United. Well, I suppose because we're United fans around these parts. Should we start with United, or shall we leave the best till last? Do you know what? I'll leave United till last, right? We'll leave the most channel relevant team till last, but a few other games that we'll need to talk about. So, just a sort of a brief skip over, or skim read, if you will. As far as results are concerned, Luton, Premier League opposition, knocked out to 10-man Exeter City, and seasonal woes supposedly continuing. The trend, for many a wrong reasons, continues, and fortunes, I think, will want to be turned around and as quickly as possible. If you are a Luton fan, I've definitely checked into their official team accounts on Twitter and read some of the comments, and just sort of gauging what it is that the fans are sort of feeling, and what it is that is going through, um, just going through their minds in their train of thoughts, um, and definitely a lot of sort of unsettled feelings, unsettled nerves at the moment, because being a Premier League team coming up from the Championship, like, objective number one is essentially, oh, let's stay up in the Premier League. We'll probably get some other cup competitions that we can try and test our luck and test the depth in which we can actually go into these competitions, the EFL Cup or Carabao Cup, whichever you want to call it, and then the FA Cup. If you're lower down the tables, in the lower divisions, you'll probably have, I think it's the, it used to be called the J Paint Trophy. I think it's called the Papa John's Trophy, I think now. Its own sort of lower tier cup competition that I believe do championship clubs get involved with that? I don't know if they do. I think it's League One and lower down that get involved with the Papa John's Trophy. But Luton, life is not looking too snazzy at the moment. A bit of troubles there. So I think they'll want to turn things around. Whether they've got the makings to do that, I don't know. I think it's partially a mental thing. It's like you're in a bit of dire straits. Where's your next win going to come from? Where are you going to get your next big result from? That's all sort of the conversations that I think most of the supporters in the fan base are probably thinking. Longhead, yes, he's K. Big ups to you, mate. Big up, bro. I'm here showing support. I'm busy doing stuff at the moment. No worries whatsoever, Yeti, mate. You do what you got to do. But we absolutely appreciate you just dropping in. See you've dropped a like as well. So thank you very much for the support there, buddy. But best of luck in whatever it is that you are currently occupied with doing at the moment. Hope all goes well. But yeah, Luton, I'm sure there's probably a bit of light at the end of the tunnel, but I'd probably be interested to hear what Luton fans probably actually have to say about their sort of club's predicament at the moment, if you will. Really struggling for form, but also with any conviction in their games to actually warrant beating opposition. We'll go on to the next game, which was interesting. It was a very, very interesting game. Very, very interesting way in which this played out. And it's a team that I've got a lot of time for, a team that I've got a lot of appreciation for. That team is Ipswich. I've got a lot of time and appreciation, and for a while I've sort of felt like Ipswich are just that Norfolk team, Norwich, they're bigger, they're better. Ipswich are like Norwich's, noisy neighbours or something like that. And to be fair, this season, the season before, one thing that I've taken, strong note of is their manager, Kieran McKenna, used to serve as staff or coaching staff to Ole Gunnar Solskjaer. That a lot of us have got, quite a lot of us United fans didn't really have a lot of time for Ole Gunnar Solskjaer, the manager, or his coaches. To be fair, we didn't really have a lot of time or patience for them back then. But I'll tell you what, the mission that the coaches of Ole Gunnar Solskjaer's United setup have gone to do have been sort of hit and miss. I mean, Michael Carrick at Middlesbrough, he won as well on Tuesday night, 2-0 away to Bradford City. Expected 2-0 win, expected result there for Michael Carrick, for a Carricky ball. But Ipswich played Wolverhampton Wanderers at home. Arsenal history more. Hi, mate. Big ups to you, Jez. How are we doing? Caught your show, the tail end of your show. I've said it earlier in the stream, just before I sort of got into the nitty gritty stuff. I've told everyone about your show that you were doing just before I sat down for dinner earlier this afternoon, but also this very, very important show. Very, very important show you've got coming up 6 p.m. on Thursday next week. And I do implore people from all backgrounds, from all interests, all clubs, all followers, whichever it is, do be sure to tune into that, because it's a very important subject that sometimes doesn't really, it sits at the back of people's minds a lot of the time. And it's important when it gets brought to the forefront, because it can be a touchy subject, but it's a subject that holds a lot of weight. And I think there's a lot of people with a lot of personal relation from different perspectives regarding the topics that will be featured on that show. And I think it'll be none the wiser, but it'll be important for a lot of people to engage on that stream, because it's a very important subject. So I do massively recommend people stick it in the calendars, people. Thursday next week, 6 p.m. Arsenal history and more. Jez is going to be doing a show regarding the internet experience with trolls or haters, and basically just a conversation about mental health side of things for people who are essentially influencers with things along that sort of grain. I expect it's so important. It is very, very important, because it is a lot of people's livelihoods, a lot of people's personal lives as well. Massive impact on so many different people's lives for so many different reasons. And for a world so big, it's such a small world, so it's all interconnected, it's all interlinked. So it's definitely worth tuning in and diving into the conversations there. But yeah, big show coming up next week. Make sure not to miss it. But back onto the game's Ipswich, the team that I've got a lot of time for, because Kieran McKenna went in to Ipswich, and I've got to be honest, I was probably thinking Kieran McKenna probably not going to fare the best managerially or on a managerial basis. Probably wouldn't fare the best out of all the other coaches. I was thinking Ollie would probably go into another managerial position because I know he used to manage Mulder. Maybe he would have gone back to managing, a team in the Norwegian league, or for another club, just to test the waters again, sort of test his mettle, to see what, test the waters again, really, just to see how things go for him. One person I wasn't expecting really anything special from, or really anything, was Kieran McKenna. Goes to Ipswich Town and sort of does things a little bit along the same script of what Ten Hag was doing last season, or towards the start of last season, after crazy losses to Brighton. I mean, Brighton wasn't really a crazy loss. That was just a normal sort of first day shenanigans. If you're not ready, if you fail to prepare to fail kind of game that was. Then the Brentford game happened, and then I think there was a lot of grounding, a lot of humbling for a lot of people in our squad to change everything up and just start it from scratch. You build from the back. Your strong defense is priority number one. Don't get beaten, by silly score lines, which we saw quite a fair few times last season. Even then, didn't really, mean anything. But then, for so many other games, furthermore than that, we saw the foundations of where Eric wanted to start his team building. I feel like Kieran McKenna's sort of done or started off doing that, build that strong defense, and just start getting those close score lines, 1-0s, 2-1s, get those victories nailed in. And where Ipswich were sort of lower down the tables last season, I think it was League One. Was it League One that they were in last season? I'm pretty sure it was. Let me double check that. So last season, League One. So they were in a spot of bother, struggling for results. Kieran McKenna sort of takes over and then starts stringing wins after win after win after win after win. The occasional sort of breakup of wins is just a draw in between, but he wasn't getting beaten in the Championship by a lot of different teams. Not Championship, sorry, the League One. So he wasn't getting beaten there. I was thinking, okay, so you've got Ipswich from sort of mid-table areas, not great, not fantastic, to sort of bang average down the middle. Turns that around and takes it to the upper ends of League One and ends up getting promotion into the Championship. Now I'm thinking it's a step up on quality now. It's a step up in challenge. It's a step up in intensity. You're going to struggle. He currently sits second place, tied on points at the top of the Championship. And, it's a plausible feat if you are Kieran McKenna. It's a plausible feat if you are Ipswich Town, because your bigger Norfolk rivals in Norwich are in that same league as you, but they're doing nowhere near as good as you. Nowhere near. Like, Ipswich Town look really good. Really, really good. Consistently winning. They're just there. They are just there. They've lost one game in the Championship. They have outright won every single game this season, barring one. The one game that they lost this season was a 4-3 loss to Leeds United. literally recently relegated Leeds United. So that you can't understate just how well Ipswich's championship campaign has started. Seriously, mental start for Ipswich Town. And question to pose: do we reckon that with this start of form, will we see Ipswich Town featuring in a promotion to the Premier League for next season? Because that will be very interesting to see. As if Kieran McKenna gets Ipswich Town promoted to the Premier League, that's 2 promotions in 2.5 seasons of managing the club, thereabouts, there or thereabouts. That's crazy. We hailed Eddie Howe for doing that with Bournemouth, right? We sort of hailed it a little bit for Luton Town, on their sort of journeyman. That sort of journeyman storyline type roadmap, if you will, or road to the Premier League. And I'm just wondering if we're seeing that again, but this time with Ipswich Town. But if it is the same thing, is it being done at a much quicker pace than we've seen with other clubs that have recently gone from lower divisions right up to first division? It's going to be interesting to really sort of pay attention. I'm going to be paying very close attention to what Ipswich Town do. And do you know what? A part of me is kind of hoping they go all the way. I'll be, I'll be really, I want to say surprised, but maybe if they set this example and it carries on right the way throughout to the end of the season, I would have to say, well, I shouldn't be surprised if they just play that well. If they do that well, they pick up results that consistently. I've got to put my hands up and say, hats off to you. Big respect to you. Rajat, good to see you, mate. Don't mind not winning it. I think if you're talking about the Carabao Cup, a part of me is feeling like we should at least win a trophy this season. We should at least win a trophy this season, whether it's retaining, because maybe whilst Man City can go 3-peats on, you can go 3-peat the Prem all you like, people, but we're gonna go 3-peat the Carabao Cup. But yeah, for me, we got to win a trophy, even if the situation's dire. At least have ambition to win trophies this season. And Barcelona have got convicted, give us a 2 UCL back. There's quite a few teams that want to get in the queue for wanting trophies back after previous debacles or scandals with other teams that have had success in recent years. Liverpool feeling that way about the Prems, and maybe Champions. No, they can't say Champions League. They haven't played City or Barcelona and lost to either of those teams in Champions League. Juve could have won Champions League in 2015. That would have been interesting. Fuzzy, Mama Flossie, good to see you. Hope you're doing well. Jaminio, you too. Good to see you here. Everyone's having a splendid Thursday night. Weekend is just around the corner, people. I want out 06 UCL with Barcelona getting punished. I'll tell you what, if there is... I suppose the conversation is, are we in the same sort of boat that we are with Manchester City, where the people will say, oh, you're not going to get the credibility. You're not going to get the credibility for winning a trophy that this other team that's been punished for winning. You're not going to then be given those achievements. They'll just be rescinded, or they'll have a little asterisk next to them in the history books or something. I don't know if it's going to be in that same ballpark, but possibly. Possibly. Um, Liverpool fans cry so much about everything. Everything is a big issue to them. Their fans are so annoying, deluded and biased, and it's starting to get on my nerves now more than ever before. I'll tell you what, there's one person that is very, very strong feelings about, you know, talking about other clubs and it being about Manchester City and their scandals going on. And it's Craig Holden from the bloke who runs Anfield Agenda. Like, I've seen a clip of him, but any times that he gets asked about Manchester City, he's not one to sit there and say, well, we'll have to wait for charges to come out. He's like, well, no, I've made up my mind and this is how I feel. So, I mean, there's plenty of people that will be in the same boat as him. They'll want to be in the same boat as him, and there's no problem with that. It's just, yeah, that's what they feel. This is what we feel. Facts are facts, but we don't have facts just yet. Like, there's no confirmed factual information on a conclusive basis regarding the Manchester City case, as well as the Barcelona case. There's no conclusive information. There's a hypothetical, but also case study things where people have found bits of evidence that they want verified and checked and say, look, this is what's happened. Yeah, get this all like checked out and stuff. Doing brilliant. Hot Fuzz has got a glass of milk. Yes, Hot Fuzz is live. Going to install the new FIFA tomorrow. So life is brilliant. Yes, that is true. EAFC 24 is released tomorrow. And another game that's come out is Counter-Strike 2, because I was big on Counter-Strike Global Offensive, and they shut down all the servers last night, and literally people were sitting on those servers for hours. There was probably still people sat on CSGO servers right now because they just don't want to let go of that game. I've got my glass of milk as well, my pint of chocolate milk, you know. Here is to tomorrow's game releases, and hope everybody is looking forward to the weekend as well. If City's titles are getting taken away, United will still win the same amount as Liverpool. Fans are seriously deluded. I'll tell you what, the prime Jurgen Klopp era, in the time that he's been at Liverpool, we have technically won the same amount of trophies as Liverpool have in their resurgence back to success, which is I'm pretty sure it sort of sits around that ballpark as well. So it's quite funny, but it is what it is. Liverpool always make up fake narratives, excuses, overrate their own players, and they care more about Man United and Everton than they do about Liverpool. Wow. Each to their own. We need our Hot Fuzz Man United series on Football Manager or FIFA or something like that. I'll tell you what, I'm absolutely dog water and useless at FIFA. So I'll tell you what, it'll probably be quite boring with how much I end up losing them FIFA series or Football Manager series. I've never really gone deep in a Football Manager career mode as well. I've always sort of got past like the first month or two, and it's just like, God damn it, it's too slow for me. Progression across time is too slow for me. This so-called prime Liverpool 1-1 Premier League title, I'll tell you what is quite funny is the people who label the Liverpool Man City as the City Pool era, right? This fierce rivalry. What do you mean the City Pool era? You've won once. You've won once. So, yeah. If City do not get found guilty, I can't see them losing any of their trophies. That's possible. It is very possible. I mean, it depends. I mean, Big Steve from City fan base, he says that it's probably going to be one of those where it's like all of that investigation or big talk of relegating clubs and all of that they'll probably end up at the end of the day turning around. It's like, here is a £100,000 fine that you must pay by the end of this week or like next month or something. And it's like, oh, well, that's underwhelming. Uh, Neither can I continue getting titles rescinded, but not to award to anyone else. And that's probably what would happen if they were to rescind titles or trophies from Manchester City, because the Liverpool fans have to make the world revolve around Liverpool. That's why it's the City Ball era. Yeah, I mean we're in the fierce rivalry between United and Man City. Like, bro, we won the Carabao Cup last season. City can't say that. They can't say it this season either. Yeah, we ain't dropping no Carabao Cups to Man City around here. Nah, nah. We'll run it back. We'll run it back, and we'll give them. We'll do the double dirty on Newcastle. We'll beat you in the finals. We've got to beat you this season as well. Mm. Better drink my pint glass of copium. Got to cope. Got to cope with my team's struggles. Knowing them, they'll probably just rock up to Old Trafford and put 9 past us or something. Now that I've said that, it'll be so typical if that were to happen, though. And I will be remembered forever. I'll have a statue built outside St James's Park in my honour for saying that nonsense. But anyways, Ipswich 3, Wolverhampton Wanderers 2. So very like shock result there, if you will, and that was 2-0 to Wolverhampton Wanderers in the first 15 minutes. So Wolves from a leading position lose 3-2 to Ipswich, and Ipswich with the more chances, better chances too. So Ipswich deserved winners of that game. And Kieran McKenna, he's cooking something in the Championship. He is cooking something, and he is well on the way to Premier League football. You know, one loss in the Championship, and it was a 4-3 loss to Leeds United. He has beaten everybody else thus far. You know, it's big stuff. Shout out as well here to Gary Neville. You know, your beloved prized possession of League 2, or is it League 1 now? It's not a club that I really look into, but smashed up by Burnley 4-0 in their own backyard. So that's probably why Gary Neville's gone quite quiet on social media. Haven't seen or heard him talk about anything quite recently. So yeah. United was the other game that was on that day. We will be going to that last. We'll be going to that well and truly last. Aston Villa versus Everton. Everton again. The Brentford game, them beating Brentford 3-1 was surprising to me. Very surprising. You know, there was no reason for Everton to win that game the way they did. And against Aston Villa, you know, what was it? I think, have they played each other already this season? I'm sure they have. Let me double check there. Because I swear that they have played at Villa Park, and it was a bit of a drubbing. Yeah, it was. So they've lost at Villa Park 4-0 already this season. And they rock up to Villa Park for part 2, and they take away a win. They take away a result. 2-1 to Everton. Goals from James Garner and Dominic Calvert-Lewin. It was Boubacar Kamara who scored late in that game, but not soon enough. Quite balanced for chance creation between the two teams, but obviously possession favouring that of the home side and Aston Villa. But again, another solid result for Everton. They're like Sean Dyche is seemingly starting to steer the Everton ship in the right direction now, and there will be a lot of sighs of relief coming from the blue part of Merseyside. Definitely a lot of sighs of relief, because Everton, I think there's a lot of people that are saying this season, this is the season Everton will go down. They've probably done that for the past 2-3 seasons now. Oh, this is fine. It's finally going to happen this season. And some of the ways in which Everton would lose games would say, I can't disagree with you. but now it's like they've dipped into bad form, bad situations. They look a bit shaky. They look like they've not got the confidence or togetherness there to string things together and pull results out the bag. Now something seems to have changed a little bit. A bit of spurred on, um, a bit on. A bit of confidence now. Like it's definitely a big confidence boost from the Brentford result. Take maybe that momentum into the Aston Villa game and test your luck again, and it's paid off. It's paid off for you big time into the next round of a cup competition that probably was written off the second they saw the draw against Aston Villa away, considering they last lost there this season to Aston Villa 4-0. Not good by any means. And they're definitely now looking up. They're looking uphill now. So I think for a team that I haven't really got too much quarrels with, I'm hoping that this something for them to sort of work on a little bit now. But it's their own little projects. They're sort of steaming along now a little bit. Going on their ways, on their journeys, doing what they got to do. Stringing together the results and getting somewhere into good positions up in the table. So I know Everton have got some of the good qualities available to them, some good players, Dominic Calvert-Lewin being one of them. James Garner, former United man, former United prospect, sold to Everton on the permanent. I think it was £9 million or something that he was let go for, or £11 million or something. But he's settling to life in the toffee blue. So, big ups to him and well done to Everton for their result there. So it's a little PSG era in France because you're in the one league title. Yeah, PSG literally win every year. It's kind of pointless to call it eras. Just call it the Manchester City era, and you occasionally get the other teams win the title in those times, in those eras. Ipswich doing good stuff, absolutely, 100%. A team that I'm keeping close eye on in the Championship, and I don't usually do that. I suppose most people were looking at Luton last season, going, "Oh, look at Luton! The dream of getting to the Premier League for Luton Town, right?" Well, you can do the same thing for Ipswich this time because they were in League One the season. Well, they were in League One last season, and they could end up in the Premier League next season. So, speaking of United, your injury crisis is getting worse and worse, but barely anyone feels bad for you. Actually, I do. Yeah, when I was Liverpool 3 years ago, everyone felt bad for them. Funny you should say that. Funny you should say that, because there was a Sky graphic that they brought up where they were saying, "Look at Arsenal's injury list. Oh my God, it's really unfortunate. Mikel Arteta, he's going to really struggle now. We've got to be patient with him. Be patient, guys. Arteta's going through an injury crisis." Ten Hag, on the other hand, is it's Ten Hag out for a lot of people. Ten Hag out, and it's like, right, so there's 1,000,001 club politically based reasons why you can't really be saying that, on the basis that you're saying Ten Hag out now, but whoever comes in to replace him, you will say that manager needs to be sacked as well, another season, 2 seasons, 3 seasons later. So you're not fixing anything. So club politics tells you that reason as to why you can't really be saying Ten Hag out. But there's so many other reasons. There are so many other reasons, and it's like we could be here for days if we were to talk all about that. And I've done the video to cover that subject, to speak about the whole debates of whether you're the manager in, the manager out, and it's kind of an irrelevant conversation if you're a Manchester United Football Club supporter. It's irrelevant because nothing's going to change. It's just a cycle, and you would be just suckered into that cycle just over and over. And its relentless nature is that it's vicious, and it just won't end until we force a change or a break in that cycle, just as a collective to stop demanding from managers to be sacked and say, well, actually, I'd rather this board got sacked, like Ajax, right? Manager, I don't know if he's still at the at Ajax, but losing 3-0 to Feyenoord, second half kicks off, game, for like 15 minutes or something, game's going normally, the fans start rioting inside the stadiums, the game gets called off, massive riots all around the Johan Cruyff Arena, and they played yesterday. I think it was yesterday or the night before. I think it might have been yesterday. The remaining 30 minutes, and Feyenoord scored in that 30 minutes. Sort of, you will finish off the game for the last 30 minutes. Feyenoord scored a fourth goal for that fixture. It would have been better for Ajax on a goal difference perspective to just acknowledge, yeah, okay, no, that game was lost. You can have the 3 points, because then it sits as a default, which stays as a 3-0, but you've just worsened your goal difference by 1 goal. And the board, quite a few of the board members have been sacked because of it. So United, you could get changed that way. You could get changed that way. Ipswich doing brilliant, especially when they were in League One last season. They were. And Kieran McKenna, they were sort of mid-table-ish, not really anything special, not going anywhere. Kieran McKenna takes over, and they go up to the higher echelons of the table, get promoted, Championship, top of the table again. Literally, top of the table, and only second because of goal difference. Everton winning an actual game, putting in a performance that wasn't spineless and a huge shock. Sort of similar story to Manchester United, But yeah, Everton. Maybe is this the turn of turning of the tide, turning of fortunes for Everton? We'll have to see what happens when they return to league football this weekend. It's all the gravel smoothies Dyche has been giving them. It is. It's just the teething phase. It takes quite a long time for the stomach to be able to keep them gravel smoothies down. And now I think they've sort of gotten used to it a little bit. They're able to stomach the stuff now, and they're seeing the rewards. They're reaping the rewards of these gravel smoothies. So all good stuff there. In terms of other fixtures, on the Wednesday, Blackburn beat Cardiff 5-2. Bournemouth beating Stoke 2-0. There's a few results here. I think Liverpool-Leicester. Leicester took the lead again. A recurring theme for Liverpool this season is they like to concede goals very, very early at the start of games. Jurgen Klopp syndrome, or a new syndrome that Jurgen Klopp's got to deal with this Liverpool team, and that's just the early goals being conceded. Now, they seem to be able to end the game 3-1. For some reason, that's happened so many times this season, it's ridiculous. And I think 3-1 FC was trending after the fact. So it's interesting forming of events. Wolfgang Division, good to see you, mate. Hope you're doing well. But yeah, I think it's an expected 3-1 result for Liverpool. Or I say expected 3-1 result. An expected win, but they definitely like to make the first half harder, a lot harder for themselves than they need to. So yeah, not positives, negatives. A bit of both worlds really. As far as those sorts of factors are concerned. But interesting nonetheless. I suppose it's sort of waiting for a big team to come along and to see how it is Liverpool fare against them. And if it's going to be the same story, the early goal conceded in first half, or whether it's going to be, they'll take the initiative, not concede the early goal, stay in the game, and look to impose their will on their fortunes. But that's for Liverpool to sort out. But an expected victory for Liverpool, just not the way that it panned out. at the time. West Ham versus Lincoln. West Ham beat Lincoln. I think they left it till quite late-ish in the day. I think 70th minute. Yeah, Thomas Soucek scored there. Um, relatively balanced on the basis of chances created, actually. It was all, West Ham keep the ball, they recycle possession in order for that. And, as far as West Ham are concerned, possession stats, they will tell you a story all about West Ham's comfortable victory over Lincoln. Whereas in actuality, it's like possession stats don't really mean anything because West Ham will tell you all about it, where they have 20% possession, but destroy an opponent like 4-1 or something like that, or 4-0. I believe it was against Brighton that they did that as well. But no possession, but just score the goals when the chances come along, and that's just how football works. That's just how it works. And Lincoln could have got something out of their game, but perhaps maybe a bit unfortunate not to get at least a goal in there to make it a bit more spicy, a bit more interesting. But West Ham will walk away with some good feelings. Cup team, it seems West Ham are sort of transitioning into, which fair plays to them. I know that they're what was it, Conference League, UEFA Conference League champions. Maybe they're looking for that next cup competition to win. Maybe it's the Carabao Cup. It could be the FA Cup. We just don't know. But I think maybe David Moyes has once again got his eye on one of these sort of side competitions to win, just to sort of get a common theme going for West Ham. Which I'll tell you what, if they do that, if they get that sort of common theme of winning this, the side competitions on a more regular basis than not winning them, I'll tell you one thing that will be interesting is the conversation as to which club is bigger, Tottenham Hotspur or West Ham. And I think give or take another couple of seasons, if West Ham are to win a trophy or one of the side competitions in their endeavours, and Tottenham still don't win anything, maybe that becomes a legitimate conversation. I'll probably say it's a fairly legitimate conversation to have now. I mean, West Ham have won a trophy before Tottenham Hotspur have. Since both clubs have respectively, won last won their competitions. But yeah, it's I think the West Ham project is moving in a positive direction for David Moyes, and he'll want to see that long continue. Fulham versus Norwich. Kieran McKenna and Ipswich were probably absolutely loving this game. Just watching Norwich get knocked out to Fulham, knowing full well that they've beaten their Premier League oppositions in dramatic fashion the night before. And yeah, they'll be quite chilled with that. Fulham, just a 2-1 victory. Carlos Vinicius and Alex Iwobi. Surprise signing Alex Iwobi to Fulham, by the way. I had no idea that the guy actually made the move to Fulham Football Club. And 3 minutes later, Norwich got a consolation goal. But aside from that, I don't think they really did too much else in that game. Not too dissimilar in chance creations once again, but by the looks of it, it looked like it was all always a Fulham's game to lose type of affair there. I suppose we can call this a bit of a shock result. Just a little bit of a shock result, and this one will have a bit of relevance to you, Wolfgang Division. Chelsea versus Brighton. Chelsea score a goal. Shock number 1. But they beat Brighton. Shock number 2. De Zerbi ball that I think most people were expecting. Oh, he's going to play Pochettino. His inexperienced guy, they're going to play him off the park. And you know what? It was, to various extents, for fairly big factors of that game was like an Evans-Stevens, but by the looks of it, looked like an Evans-Stevens sort of affair. Chelsea looking relatively solid at the back, and Brighton with all the fancy passing, all the fancy possessions, and the attacks that sort of don't really have as much cutting edge, and not scoring a goal when perhaps they should have done. And Chelsea, a fair few chances created. Not bucket loads of opportunities, but 4 attempts on goal. So they've worked, definitely worked Verbruggen. I believe that's his name, Verbruggen. Worked him in his goal, which is better. It's definitely more positive signs if you are challenging your opposition's goalkeeper at least. And you know what? It was. I think it's one of those where I think Chelsea fans probably felt like it's a bit of a, we won a game, we scored a goal sort of celebration. So, yeah, it's a little bit, you're sort of milking the moment a little bit, sort of type of victory. But I honestly don't blame no Chelsea fans whatsoever. Honestly, if man were to literally be giving all of it, like giving the whole thing, just mad amount of chest, I'll tell you what. United fans can't talk shit about beating Brighton by any means, because we got smashed by them at our home ground 3-1. And Chelsea, apparently, to some United fans, is a much bigger crisis than Manchester United. I mean, I beg to differ. I do beg to differ, but it's a commanding result, I'd say, to beat a Brighton team that most people have written quite a few bigger fish off against. I think there's a lot of people that have written teams off against Brighton prior to playing De Zerbi's teams. And I think this was just another case example. A lot of people would have said, Brighton, I can't wait to watch Chelsea get destroyed by Brighton. I sort of had the same sort of thoughts in my mind, at least. And it didn't pan out that way. It didn't pan out that way at all. And I was like, it got to half time. I was thinking, oh, well, damn. Interesting. Half time 0-0. I was thinking it would be like a 2-0 half time sort of scoreline to Brighton, but nope, that didn't happen. Did not happen. And Chelsea, victors on the day. And I'll tell you what, Brighton, there's quite a few teams, so I'll be quite happy to see the back of Brighton heading out of this competition. One less banana skin game to worry about for the big dogs. And Chelsea, they are one step further in cup competitions. I don't know about you, but maybe it's going to be another one of those where they're just shocking, absolutely shocking in the league. But then the cup competitions on the side, they're actually quite decent. Like the records would be quite decent. Like they do okay. It's like maybe in the FA Cup as well, they might go quite deep in that, and no one expects them to. Maybe that happens. I don't know. But definitely interesting results that took me by surprise, to say the least. Now, which one to go on to next? I could discuss the City-Newcastle game or the Brentford-Arsenal game. I'm going to go with the Newcastle City game. So, Mama Flossie. Newcastle beating Manchester City, quite possibly the competition favourites to most people, I would have imagined. In St James's Park, under the lights, last game of the day. Bit of maybe a nothing first half, quite a cagey, tense affair. It's like no teams wanting to give an inch, no teams wanting to go a mile. And I think perhaps it was sort of suited to be a Manchester City sort of quite a close win for them. And I was expecting it to be just that, but I thought like the game would have had potential makings to be an upset result, but I wasn't holding out hope for it. I wasn't going to hold my breath with it. I didn't think we would. And yeah, I think that's a lot of people would have said, well, look, it's Manchester City, and most people write off, expecting, wins against Manchester City. And Newcastle, I know that their last result before this was absolutely just devastating. Sheffield United 8-0. Was it 8-0? I think it was 8-0. Was it 8-0 or was it 7? I think it was 8-0, wasn't it? But yeah, just absolutely devastating Sheffield United 8-0. That they go into this game and have something to take into that with momentum. Perhaps not to say that Newcastle showed that momentum, but I think from their last game that they played against Manchester City at the Etihad, a few problems or concerns to go in the future as to like how it is that teams are playing, or how Newcastle are playing against Man City. A lot of Newcastle's lack of impetus in that game to really sort of pose more of a challenge to City in that game. I think this game definitely saw a different trend, different habits, and do you know what? I think very respectable 1-0 scoreline, very respectable to beat Manchester City in any capacity nowadays. And Newcastle have proven to do so. And now it's United hosting Newcastle next time around, and it's going to be it's going to be quite. I think it's going to be a bit of a not just a tense affair, but probably quite of. I'm thinking of violent. It's not violent. I'm not looking for violent. Fiery. Let's say it's a fiery affair, because you'll want to knock us out of the competition that we beat off of you, and we'll want to, slap you up, twice over. We'll screw you over in this competition twice over. So. People want to say, oh, it's a nothing competition. Oh, it's pointless. It's beneath us. We don't want to. We want to write off this competition and say it's below our club standards, but we'll do a watch along for it anyways. It is what it is. Meanwhile, United and Newcastle could make a habit of this, where we are, going right at each other's throats. And we've got our own sort of fierce rivalry in a Carabao Cup sense. And maybe because of that, it gives Carabao Cup more weight, more importance. Competition earnings are non-existent for it anyways, but still, it's just the habit of, winning a trophy. And if it's, we want to win it as badly as anybody else that desperately wants to win it, the spirit the spirit of competition is in the right place. And that's kind of what we want to see in football, is people all equally want to win every competition just as badly as the next person does. We are coming for you, Fussy. Yeah. Coming to Old Trafford, so it's not quite Wembley. It's not quite St James's Park. And it's certainly not Bramall Lane. If it's not Garnacho killing you, I'm sure it's a loose steel beam inside Old Trafford that's rusted away that will fall on you. That'll be the killing blow in that game. But we look forward to it. It's going to be an interesting game when we come around to it. Maybe we're in a much better position by the time we play. Maybe we're back in the gulag. Maybe it is going to turn out to be that case. It's not the scary place it used to be. Let's be honest. I think there's not really many places that are scary places. I don't deem away grounds as scary, to say the least. I think it's just one of those things. It's just mentality. If you're strong mentally, then it really doesn't matter what ground it is. I suppose Anfield is probably the hoodoo ground. I think hoodoo grounds are definitely a thing, but in terms of feeling a fear towards a ground. I think it's just if you're fearing a ground, maybe it's a sort of a weaker mentality aspect sort of thing, or a minority complex, perhaps, maybe because you feel intimidated by it, you feel like the team's intimidated by it. It's just something to sort of work past, I guess. Um, Man United, Man United has reached new depths, wanting opposition kill because they can't beat them. Well, I'll tell you what, with how abandoned and how rusty our stadium's become, it's quite possible maybe a steel beam becomes loose and falls apart and falls on the pitch and wipes a load of people out. The City ground is to be feared also too. The City grounds, Nottingham Forest City grounds, to be feared for the chance that they will come at you with about your European Cups. They will come for your European Cups. Better have them ready for display, otherwise you won't get let in the City ground. Have them medals, them cup winners medals ready to show before you enter, because you'll get patted down for them. You can't play City. You have to imagine that you can't play Nottingham Forest because you haven't got any European Cups. So you have to concede 3 points to Nottingham Forest every time you play them if you've got less European Cups than them. Big ups, big ups, big ups. But yeah, good result that for Newcastle, and we look forward to seeing you in the next round of the Energy Drink Cup, or the Carrier Bag Cup, as Jez likes to call it now. It's the new name. But we move on to the second to last fixture we are covering today, and that is Brentford versus Arsenal. Ooh. Another result that I was definitely not expecting to see. Now, I think what do I mean by expecting to see? Because I could mean that I was rating Brentford to win this game from a mile off, and some people might sit in that camp, but I don't feel that way necessarily. What I feel is that Brentford, when the team sheets came out, I said, Brentford, look, they've gone what they usually go with in Premier League games, right? It's one of the strongest teams they can get. That Arsenal team did not look like it was fit to beat Brentford at all, but they still managed it. And I think it's one of those, a lot of people in the way in which the game went, that I believe I've watched some of the fan cams or match reviews from Arsenal fan perspectives, and they believe that they were quite lucky and fortunate that a more clinical player wasn't burying those chances, because otherwise the scoreline would be much more in favour of Brentford, and maybe it would have been. Maybe it is a case that today was not Brentford's day. They were not able to hit the target. They weren't able to get shots on target, and sometimes that can happen for teams. Sometimes it's just a bad day. It can happen, but it's just annoying from a rival fan's perspective that it had to come against Arsenal, and not just against any old Arsenal, but a poor Arsenal team. Usually, you'd see a team like that get fielded, and you think, "Oh, I want to see that Arsenal team get punished," and I kind of do. It's kind of one of those sick kinks. You want to see that Arsenal team get punished. You see them get run through the mud. You want to see them get put through the meat grinder, get chewed up and spat back out. And that's kind of what I was hoping to see happen, but that wasn't the case. That wasn't the case at all. But it was an early goal in that game. It was Reece Nelson who buried his chance from an Nketiah pass. And Nketiah, I think, has been highlighted for his, lack of ability. A couple of others that have been drawn up to, or pinned up on the drawing board. We've got the likes of Kai Havertz as well, and Jorginho, susceptible candidates for potentially being not as influential for a positive means as people were wanting them to be. I think a lot of say top gooners as such probably feeling that way. They're sort of like, oh well, Kai Havertz. Kai Havertz had a good game. Kai Havertz good. He's low on confidence. This low on confidence. That. It's like, for me, Kai Havertz, if he's low on confidence, I would see more impact away from goal. I would see more impact in the areas of the pitch where he has a high work rate. Confidence does not depend on one's work rate. And if we're having conversations about Kai Havertz not putting in the hard yards or not having high distance coverage and not being relentless on the pitch, for me, we can't pin that to confidence. You can't do that, because we were talking about Rashford doing this whole sort of, well, he's head down and he just sort of struts along the pitch. He doesn't really chase people down, doesn't really run after things. If you're not running, it's not confidence. It's like a marathon runner. If he's low on confidence, you don't see a marathon runner just start walking. You don't see them do that. You just see them run as they normally do. A professional athlete, his confidence is not hampered by his work. Well, his work rate is not hampered by confidence. Work rate should be the consistent variable. It's the execution, right? And Kai Havertz, I know that there is definitely some form of confidence issue, because the amount of times that man's miskicked the ball or fired the ball into Rosehead, like, there's definitely a confidence issue there. But the work rate side of things, sorry, there's got to be more. It's got to be more from Kai Havertz. And Jorginho, where he cost Arsenal, for me, completely cost Arsenal the North London derby by deciding to try and turn into your classic FIFA, FIFA Pro Clubs skill merchant, who ends up taking it back to his own goal line and then starts skilling against a opponent's player and then just concedes a goal. I mean, Jorginho is another one. I mean, not confidence per se. I wouldn't say confidence per se, but again, perhaps not quite with the legs to matching a high work rate to what Arsenal need. And that team, that midfield, you wouldn't want to see it or pin it up against another team that will be competitive. I mean, that midfield against Tottenham Hotspur from minute one would get beaten. And to be honest, we saw that. We saw that team that played against Brentford, essentially as close to that team as possible, get beaten by Tottenham Hotspur for 45 minutes. Because they fell apart second half North London derby, had to make some substitutions. Vieira and Rice came off, and Jorginho and Havertz came on. And I think Smith Rowe was the other variable. I think Smith Rowe perhaps was somewhat better, probably the better of the three midfielders. I think Tomiyasu had a good game, as per what people are saying. Kivior, nothing really special. Ben White, Gabriel's probably most influential defensively for Arsenal. But aside from that, El Neni makes his return to first team football for Arsenal and makes a lasting impact. And he's like the Fred of Arsenal. The Fred of Arsenal, except he's a bit more consistent. Perhaps not quite with the quality, but consistency is quite key for plenty of reasons. When your team's on the pitch, timber, and you're squashed, worse than God Hatcher's face. Away the lads. Good to see you, Geordie, mate. Hope you're well. How are we doing on this fine Thursday evening? But yeah, Arsenal, let's say it, fairly fortunate to get through against Brentford. I think based off of what, I think it's West Ham that Arsenal play next. I can't remember who the other teams face. But West Ham is next on Arsenal's agenda, and that's going to be an interesting game. Maybe that's the end. That will be the end of Arsenal's, Carabao Cup endeavours if Moyes is trying to target being a cup team You might want to go full strength in that game, and West Ham's full strength 11. You know, Arteta will probably rotate. Let's be honest. West Ham will probably beat Arsenal. I'll say it there. I think West Ham would beat Arsenal. And Yeti somewhat agrees with me there. West Ham will knock Arsenal out, I have a feeling. Absolutely. I believe that it is there. It's there to happen. But it's got the makings for an upset victory there. So it's going to be an interesting next round, I feel, and most especially an interesting next round for the final game to cover, saving the best till last, channel relevance and all, with this fixture, and that being Manchester United. And Man United fans, some people might be saying that we're probably being a bit insufferable with how satisfied we seem to be giving off. I know someone in a comment that was left on my post-match reaction a couple of days ago said that that they believed that what's up with United fans being so desperate about hyping up a bang average player, and I think he's referring to Amrabat. I'm thinking, but you can't be average. You can't be an average baller. You can't be an average player, because an average player is someone who will casually drop a 6 out of 10 for you. You need someone to step up in the big moments, and he drops a 6 out of 10. Nothing too snazzy, nothing too special. Amrabat comes in, and we've already seen a transformative impact on the whole team. Transformative impact. Casemiro went up levels. Various other players went up. Garnacho on the score sheet, linked up with the front lines well. Martial, a few passing patterns looking good, getting on the score sheet as well. Mason Mount, good dead ball set piece specialist. Specialist today. Oh, not today. On Tuesday night. Corner kick, placed it right on the head. I mean, there was the penalty shout just before then, but that didn't matter, did it? Because Mason Mount pinged a perfect ball onto Casemiro's head to make it 2-0. Dalot, active, involved in the attacking sense, but kept Crystal Palace relatively quiet the whole game. Maybe once or twice in the second half they got a little bit into the game, couple chances created here and there. Anana with some good saves, because usually a quiet game for a goalkeeper is probably the biggest downfall to many goalkeepers. If you've not got anything to do, and out of nowhere, all of a sudden you're called into action. Sometimes a goalkeeper's not quite up to speed and they're not primed for something. So something out of the blue happens and they'll concede a goal, and that's kind of it. They'll sort of patch things up from there. But no, clean sheet, 3-0. And you know what? It was a result, a good result, a solid result. Whilst the performance itself was not the most perfect thing in the world, it is by far, and it's not close. It is not close whatsoever. By far, the best performance that people say by far the best performance this season. I'm saying by far the best performance since probably somewhere around March, maybe beginning of April time. The most convincing performance, I'll say that. The most undoubtable performance since about March. That's saying something. And do you know what? It's posed an interesting question. Marcus Rashford and Bruno Fernandes, neither of them played that game. Garnacho, I said, drop Rashford for Garnacho, because he will offer that front line and the rest of that team something that Rashford doesn't. I was proven right. He offers something that Rashford doesn't, and defensive work rate as well. The guy, on a couple of occasions where he lost the ball, the guy's like, he doesn't stop running. He's like, oh, okay, I'll just jog back. He was onto the player that he lost the ball to. He was onto him in a flash. Man was on him. He was hunting man's ass down. He was onto him. And I think we saw the same thing from Mabry as well. Mabry, work rate, just relentless. Got put onto a yellow card. I think it was fairly early in the first or late in the first half, and then continued to make challenge. Like, he didn't let up. He didn't reserve a part of his game. He just went straight in and in and in and in, just non-stop, constantly being there. And that's a bite in midfield that United teams haven't usually had for quite a while. Bite, just constantly relentless, just non-stop. He was doing it in pre-season as well. And Mabry, we credited once or twice, I think, when he played, even under, what was it, Ralph Rangnick in the Liverpool game. We lost that game 5-0 with a back five. Mabry, I think, came on and looked relentless, but got sent off. So it's like, well, that was a short cameo. But Hannibal Mabry, I think the technical side to his game he's got to improve on by all means. But because he's still a prospect-based player, he's still got that time to learn. He's still got that room for growth. But it's a relentless desire and work ethic and work rate. And it's not just Hannibal Mabry. We had it with Sofian Amrabat as well. First game, or first start, and he was playing at left back, I believe. Was it left back? I think it was left back. But he was playing in fullback positions. And his coverage for the fullback position, as well as the middle of the park, I mean, you can't question that, because he's just so relentless. We've got relentless play. Even Casemiro, Casemiro in that game went up levels. A goal and an assist. I think that is 8 goal contributions. Was that 8 goal? No, it's not. No, it's this. I think with this game, Casemiro now has 20 goal contributions as a CDM for Manchester United since joining the club. 20 goal contributions from CDM, goals and assists. That's your DM. And you can see when he goes up the levels and he goes up the gears, the guy goes from being, he's lost his edge, he's not got the legs, he's dead in the water, Shite-a-Miro or something like that. And then he has 1-2, really good games and really shows some proper class. And all of a sudden, people want to talk about best, DM in the world, or better than Rodri. I've seen this swaying of this conversation. I've seen this conversation swaying to either side of the fence here. I'm straight down the middle. I'm like, I've seen people where they've had problems with Casemiro's, performances before, even for Real Madrid. Sometimes he will disappear in some bigger games, but in other games he shows up, and when he shows up, my fucking God, he turns into probably the best DM in the world on that day. Just on that performance or basis. And he's got the potential to do that, even though he is in his early 30s now, and perhaps we'll start to slowly see a very slow, gradual regression to his game. There's still another 2-3 seasons, potentially, at a high level. Look at Luka Modric. The guy is practically going on 40, and he can still hang with the best. I think, is he going on 40? I think he's about 35, 36 now. But the guy is going on. His consistency and this ability to constantly sit at a high level and operate at a high level, to start for Real Madrid at the later years that he's in, it's ridiculous. I think Casemiro has got the makings to do exactly the same sort of thing, the same sort of wind down to his career. Toni Kroos is along that sort of same lines as well. immense right into the later stages of your to the very, very last days of your career. And Casemiro, I hope he can do that. He's got the makings to do that. I think when he performs, he's absolutely bloody brilliant. But Sofian Amrabat, for people that say that I'm desperate to rating Sofian Amrabat, oh, he's a bang average player. Well, he just transformed an entire team and gave us the most, or helped contribute to the most convincing performance and win I've seen from Manchester United since March. What must have been March last year. Well, like this year, but March last season is what I meant to say. And that's saying something. That is really saying something. But we get to say part 2 to this game on Saturday. Part 2, 3 o'clock kickoff. Literally Manchester United versus Crystal Palace in the Premier League. Whether we get another win is another question. But do you know what? To see this sort of result, to see this sort of performance, is the sort of performance that gets United fans feeling confident again. That gets United fans thinking, we'll win this game. Oh yeah, we'll win this game 100%. A lot of people I know are saying, oh well, the season starts against Burnley. I was like, well, I'm not confident playing Burnley. We should be winning that game, and I'm sure we will, but I'm not confident for it. I've got confidence a bit. I've got quite a fair bit of confidence, and I'll tell you what, it's Crystal Palace again, same venue. United, we've got to be punching the air right now, absolutely punching the air. Crystal Palace will be absolutely livid with the prospect of having to go play Man United again. They'll want to try and get a different result, and they'll probably turn it up a gear on Saturday. They probably will. They most likely will. They'll probably field a stronger team and will look to beat us. But we've already covered part 1. We've built a confidence, and the game plan probably micro changes, differences, but the message will be the same. The message will be just as clear. The result you got against Crystal Palace on the Tuesday night, go and do it again. Same intensity, same work rate, because Crystal Palace can have as much of a game plan as they want. If they've got this relentless United team that are literally running and closing them down like headless chickens, it's a tough day, full stop. One hell of a tough day for whoever it is. Because we credit Liverpool and Jurgen Klopp with heavy metal football. Rock on, man. Heavy metal, just relentless, constant, in your face. We credit them for that. If we've got a team of players that are doing the same thing with the same sort of work rate, why shouldn't I predict United beat Palace again? And I said, look, go out and do the same, if not do better. We can do better. We can do better. So let's target that. Let's go and do better. So yeah, it's that's basically wrapped up the EFL Cup fixtures that we've had. Friday tomorrow, we have got previews, perhaps some previews to happen. I know I'll probably want to do a very short preview. It's probably going to be a very, very short, short and sweet preview. Things that I will say in a preview tomorrow, I'll probably want to do it earlier in the day as well as a pre-recorded video, just to cover my expectations and what I want to see going into this game, what I'm hoping to see going into this game. As far as teams are concerned, I know a lot of people will probably be changing starting lineups. They'll probably try and make way for Bruno Fernandes and Rashford again. Personally, I hope that doesn't happen. I hope to see Garnacho starting again. Do you know what? I hope to see Garnacho starting, but maybe Bruno Fernandes come back into that team. Maybe. And Mason Mount, hopefully, maybe goes to the bench and we see Pellistri starting on the right again. You just give Pellistri some run of games, man. Give him a run of games and just see where he goes, where he takes it, and how far he can go with it. Because the guy does so well for his country. Why can't he find levels at his club? So I want to see that happen. But that's for tomorrow and less so for today. So I'm going to wrap the stream up there, people. thank you very, very much for everybody that has tuned in. Big ups to everybody who has commented today. Longhead Yeti, Mama Flossie, Geordie, Wolfgang Division, Jaminho, Big T, Arsenal History Rogers, and Rajat. Big ups to everybody. Thank you very much for dropping in, stopping by, saying hello, and inciting conversation. It's always a pleasure to have these sort of conversations. Big ups to everybody that has smashed a like on 9 likes. I'd love to see this stream on 10 likes, sitting on 10 likes after the fact, or if we can get it up to 10 likes now, then that would be massive. Lovely, lovely stuff. Big ups to everybody. We're currently sat on 107 subscribers, so we are slowly but surely going in the right direction towards 200 subs. I'm sure we will get there one day, sooner or later. But it's all part of the journey. It's all part of the journey, and we'll have fun. We will have plenty of fun doing it along the way. So, and I hope to see you guys joining me on that journey, so we can enjoy the highs and the lows all together. And that's the best way to enjoy stuff. So, thank you very much for that. Thank you very much for watching. I'm going to enjoy the rest of my my pint of hope, Manchester United hope, Manchester United copium, sweet taste, delight of chocolate milk. I've got some Turkish delights downstairs as well, Greek Turkish delights, I believe, which is going to be interesting. I've not tried those yet, but maybe I will have to quite soon before I leave it too late. But thank you very much, everybody, for tuning in. I bid you all a farewell. Enjoy the rest of your Thursdays and have a blessed Fridays. You'll see me tomorrow on pre-recorded videos and perhaps on a stream as well. Just have to see how things go with timings and all. But thank you very, very much to everybody for tuning in, and take care. Goodbye and God bless. I'll see you on the next one. Thank you. See you too, Mama Flossie. Thank you very much, and good night to you.